Good afternoon, grade 10s. Welcome to your IT lesson. I'm just going to start. Okay, the recording started. Welcome to your IT lesson. It is the 14th of May, and we are starting to look at calculations and variables. Okay, so we're going to carry on working in Delphi. I'm on page 42 in your Delphi textbook. Okay, so what we have here is a scenario. The grade 11 learners are selling raffle tickets to raise money for the matric dance. The price of a ticket is 5 Rand. The name of the learner must be entered and the number of tickets they want to buy. The computer must then work out the amount to be paid and display it with an appropriate message. Okay, so what we're going to do, I'm going to share my screen. Okay. There we go. Let's just make sure I'm not blocking anything here. Okay. What step one would be, I need to construct an IPO. So what I have is in my IPO, sorry, I'm moving things around here, is I need the name of the learner, then the number of the tickets, then a process and an output, which is going to say the name of the learner and then the amount payable. Now, the process specifically is going to be the number of tickets multiplied by 5. Okay, and that must then be assigned to amount payable. Okay, I'm going to switch to Delphi. I've started the form. So what you need to create, you'll see on page 43, there is a form for you, and we are going to save. I'm going to take you through the steps. So please add in for me 2 labels, an edit, a spin edit, a button, a 3rd label, and 2 bit buttons. So let's take a look at how we do this. I'm going to start on my form. I'm going to go down to my name function, and I'm in the object inspector, and I'm going to change it to FRM matric dance. 1 word, no spaces. Altogether, each word is going to start with a capital letter. Then I'm going to scroll up to caption, and I'm going to change this to simply just say matric dance. Okay. Then my first label, I want to call it LBL name, and the caption, let's find caption, there we go, must simply just say name. Okay. My edit is going to be EDT name. So you go back to the name function. EDT is my prefix, and now I don't want it to say edit 1 there. Okay, so I'm going to go down to the text where it says edit 1, and I'm going to simply delete that. Then I'm going to go to label 2, and I'm going to change the name of label 2 to LBL number. Okay, and then scroll up to caption, and we are going to call that number. Then you will go click on your spin edit. To find these edits, you're going to go to your tool palette, and you simply just in the search bar go and type in spin edit. There are different types. There's just a spin, so make sure you choose the spin edit. Okay, so the name of the spin edit, the prefix that I'm going to use is said. Let's just get it to click said, and we are going to use num. Okay, and at this stage I'm just going, I can change my minimum and my maximum values. We are not going to worry about that today. The next one is my button, and the button is going to be called BTN calc or BTN calculate, and I will go to my caption and just change it to calc. Okay. The third label I'm going to call LBL output. This is where I'm going to display the message to my user. I go to LBL output. Okay. But now the caption, I want it to be left empty. So do you see there? I'm simply going to do that. Now it is going to look as if it disappears. It is still there, so you don't have to worry about that. Then we get to our bit buttons. Can you remember how to code your bit buttons? So it will be BMB, and the first one is going to be reset. And now the trick here with bit buttons is I need to go and set my kind. So I'm going to go click on the drop down button and I'm going to choose the option BK retry. Okay, so there it's added a little picture for me, so I know immediately it is a bit button. But I want mine to say reset. So I'm just going to go up to caption and change the caption of my button. The second button is going to be button close, or bit button. So BMB close, and I'm going to click on the kind, and this one I'm just going to choose as is BK close. Okay, so there is our very simple form. What you're now going to do is you're going to click on the save all function. Okay, now before anything, you are going to choose where you want your program to be saved, so make sure that you're going to save in the correct place. I'm going to save it for now onto my desktop. You will create a new folder. Okay, so let's see what we're calling our program. Let me just find if they gave us a specific name. Otherwise, I'm just going to call it activity underscore 42. So there's my folder. But now, very important, don't just go straight into saving your unit. Make sure that you are saving inside that folder. Otherwise, all the programs and all the components are going to lie outside the folder. So I'm also going to call this activity underscore 42 underscore U. And I'm going to save. And immediately, if I use the save all function, it's going to bring up the project also, the project folder. And I'm going to call it activity underscore 42 underscore P for project. Okay, make sure you save both so that you don't end up losing part of your program. So you might sit with only the unit or only the project. Okay, so that wasn't too difficult. There you've created your form. Let's quickly run it so you can see what it looks like at this stage. There's no coding in it. Okay, so there is my program, just so that you've got an idea what it will look like. Okay, so let's see. So step one was we constructed an IPO. Step two, okay, where's it gone? It's still running. Give it a second. Okay. So the second part I'm going to do is I'm going to declare my variables. Now, why do I need variables? In the past, up to now, you have coded basically the method attached to a component, but it makes your coding incredibly long. So what we rather do is we declare variables and we assign the values from those components into the variable. So how do I do this? The first step I'm going to do is I would have double-clicked onto my component, okay? And then I'm going to actually press enter before the begin. You'll see it open the procedure button calc. And I'm going to enter the words var. Now var stands for variable. So the two variables that I'm looking for is going to be sLearner. Okay, now the S is going to stand for string. If I have an I, you will see shortly. Okay, so sLearner. Now instead of a normal assign colon equals, I'm just going to have a colon, and that tells me it is going to be, now I need to declare the type, so type string, and don't forget your semicolon. Okay, so this, what I'm doing here is, if I do // you'll see it turns green. It's a comment. So here I've got S, so it is variable S learner, and it is type string. Okay, that's just a bit of extra so that you know what you're dealing with. The next two variables I want to deal with is iNumber, so for the number of tickets that the person is choosing. But now it is possible, if it's the same type, I can just put a comma between my variables. So I'm going to have iNumber and iAmount, and it is going to be type integer. Okay, so integer, what's the difference between the two? A string can be any letter, number, or character. Okay, so don't go and say that letters are strings and integers are numbers. An integer is a number that you're going to do a calculation with. So if I want to display my number, I need to convert it. Okay, so there I've declared my variables. Now you're going to see how that works. So what I'm going to start off with, I'm going to assign, so let's see, oh, I've forgotten some. Let me go and, it's actually not S learner, it's going to be S name. I'm just going to change that. Okay, so I'm looking at my code. The user is going to edit, enter their name into this edit box, and I wanted to write it to a variable S name. So I'm going to say S name, assign, and I'm going to use my edit box, was called edit name. Now the method and property that's attached to it is going to be dot. You see, as soon as I press dot, it's going to give me all the type of things I can do with it. I'm looking for dot text. Okay, and so you're going to remember, think of Chinese, work from right to left. So whatever's on my right hand side, I'm assigning to the left hand side. The next one I'm going to assign is iNumber. So iNumber, assign, and this, my iNumber, let's go and check. That was a spin edit. Okay, so I'm going to say sed num, and I'm going to, the property attached to that is value. Okay. Then I want to declare one more variable that is called iAmount. Now this is where your calculation is going to come into being. So iAmount is going to be iNumber, or iNum, because that's what I've called it. Let's just see, no, I've actually called it iNumber. Come now. iNumber. And I'm going to, now we don't use X 2 times because X is seen as a letter here. I'm going to use the star in as a times. And we've said in our story, if we go back here, every ticket is going to cost a number of tickets times by 5. Okay, I just want to quickly put on the chat here. Can you all see? I just want to make sure I am still sharing. There we go. Okay, let's move this one here. Okay, so I'm going to put the value 5. Now it's not string 5, it is a value, so there are no quotes around it. Okay, then the last part, so here I declared the name field. There I've declared in line 39. Do you see those numbers here on the side? I've declared the iNumber, and in line 40, I'm now doing my calculation. Okay, so that's fantastic up to now. That was, I've declared my variables, chosen my interface, and now I'm going to add one last thing. I want to display it. So if you go back to your IPO, I want to display the name of the learner and how much they owe. Okay. So let us take a look here. Okay, so how do I display something? Remember, we used label output. So LBL output. And what we're going to use, the method here is going to be called caption. So I want to display something in the caption. Remember, we had it here that we had. So I'm actually, everything I can do in my object inspector, I can also do with the code. So now I want to code, I want to change that caption. At the moment for my label, it is empty. Okay, so I'm going to assign, and I'm going to say S name. So where does S name come from? Here's my S name. Okay, so whatever was written here in my edit box, I want to declare it to the S name. And how do I add sentences together? I'm going to use a plus. We call this concatenate. And then I'm going to have a string. So I want the person's name, a string, and then a value. So S name, make sure you got a space. You need to pay, put my R for my rand, leave a space, close my string, okay, plus, now I'm going to have my I amount. Now the I amount comes from over here. Okay, come now. Okay, it's not just, there we go. So do you see? So what my I amount is then the I number times by 5. But I'm going to quickly run this and I'm going to show you what I'm going to come up with an error. Okay, so it tells me here, so there's an error, okay, and do you see at the bottom here, here is a section of messages that Delphi is writing to you. And what it says here is incompatible types, string and integer. So I can't have the two the same. So integers can't be displayed. Where's my integer? It is on I amount. So what I'm going to do is I have to convert it from an integer to a string. So how do I know if it's string to int or int to string? I say take what I've got an integer, to what I want. I want a string. So int to string. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to place this in brackets. Okay, and I'm going to write int, not integer, just int to string. Okay, so what this little piece of code is going to do is it is going to change my integer, my value here, into something that can be displayed. Okay, so let's test our program now. Okay, so we've got, let's say the name is Marcus, and Marcus wants to buy 5 tickets. Okay, so he selects 5 tickets, and we, sorry, my antivirus does this every time. Just let's give it a second. Let's try it again. Okay, so the user enters their name, Marcus, and Marcus is going to buy 5 tickets, and then he clicks on calculate. And over there, do you remember we created a label that we took the text away? So now it says, Marcus, you need to pay 25 Rand. So let's take a look here. So Marcus, that's my S name. The you need to pay R is my string. And the 25 is the I amount that I got from the number of tickets multiplied by the amount or the cost of the tickets. Okay, so that's that little bit. Okay, so the last little thing that you will have to do is code the reset button. So why do we code the reset button but not the close? Okay, the function of the close button, its only function is to close the program. Okay, so it stops everything and it closes the program. The reset button, what it does is we have to code it to make sure it goes and clears everything and resets all the fields to its original position. So let us go and add that in. Okay. Everyone still with me? Are you still happy? Okay, so go back to your design, double click on your reset button. Do you see there B&B is reset? And what you're simply going to do here is we are going to reset our different fields. So we're going to say edt name dot clear. Sorry, my wizard is kicking in. Let's say dot clear. Okay, so go and clear whatever was in my edit box. What was the next one? My spin edit. So I'm going to say sed num dot. Okay, and here instead of what you're going to do is, let's see, dot value. So this time we're going to use value, but we have to assign it back to 0. Okay, so you have to go and change what, remember I've chosen 5, so I'm going to make sure that when I press the reset button, it puts the counter or the spin edit back to 0. And then the only other one that we have to go and clear is LBL output dot caption. And how do I clear caption? Okay, how do I clear label? I'm going to just simply place an empty string. Now, do you see the difference? A single quote plus there, that's a wider space, so that tells me that there's a space, but I want 2 single quotes. That tells my that it will be an empty string. Okay, we're going to save our program. Remember to save throughout. Okay, so let's run it. And we're just going to wait for the antivirus to kick in before I start typing. I must remember to switch it off. Okay, it's almost there. There we go. Okay, there's my program. And we're going to use the name Bob. Bob is only buying 2 tickets. Okay. And he's going to calculate and says, Bob, you need to pay 10 Rand. And Bob's friend Frank is going to come along and he also wants to buy. So we click reset. Do you see that it has cleared my edit? It has reset my spin edit to 0 and my label is empty. It looks as if it has disappeared. And then simply I would then enter the next name, choose the amount of tickets, calculate, it will display and reset. Now, when you get to grade 11, I'm going to teach you how to design a database. So in grade 10, you write programs, but you can't save your data, okay? In grade 11, I'm going to teach you about text files and databases where you will be able to write your information and save it in a database. Okay, so let us just go back to our program and just add some captions here. So here was assign the text to a variable, assign the name text to the name variable. Okay, this one was assign the value from the text, the spin edit, to the number variable. And over here we have you are going to calculate the number of tickets times by the price. Okay, and in this one we are going to display our display, let me just put it on this next line so that you can read it. So display the name and the number of tickets, or the value. Display the name and the amount owed for the tickets. And there you have just done your very first program using variables, and you will see it actually becomes so much easier when you're using variables, because you don't have to, if I didn't use S name or I number every time over here, I would have had to type EDT name. So let me show you how that works. So I'm going to copy here and place it there, and instead of I amount, I'm going to have to place, now watch this, I would have to take said number, multiply by 5. Okay, so let's see if it still works. So it is possible to work without variables, but it does make your code very long. Say Mary, and she's 1 ticket, and Mary, you need to pay 5 rand. Okay, so the whole point of coding is to work faster and more efficiently and not harder, because you're only going to have 3 hours in which you will have to code 4 different programs. Okay, so if you think we take about 40 minutes sometimes, just to this alone has taken us 27 minutes. In your exam, you do not have to design any of the programs from the beginning. I will give you already designed programs. You may just need to change a few things depending on the requirements. Okay. Okay, well, that is all for today. What you can try and start looking at is page 45, but I will also be doing that activity with you. That one says a user must enter the name of the learner, and for 3 marks, a practical mark, a theory, and the project, and then do a calculation. So over this weekend, I want you to start thinking, how are you going to write that program? And next week, we will code that program. Okay. Have a great day, and I will see you all soon. Okay, let's just end the recording.